Imagine with me for a second, it's in the future, and the next bull run market, well, it's here. And you've carefully made many smart investments, and your financial life has completely changed. We discuss on this channel ways to evaluate and look at projects to make smarter choices. But we're not into that future yet. And from now till then, and throughout our journey in crypto, we still have bills. None of us have Bruce Wayne level money yet, except my friend MM Crypto, where we can have Alfred take care of everything and have somebody we can trust like Alfred. We have to pay the bills ourselves. But what if there's a really simple way to pay your bills, your rent, even send crypto that is then swapped into fiat to friends, almost as simple as PayPal? Today, we'll talk about how to get $50 towards your bills that you can now schedule and pay using crypto funds. When I saw this, I wanted to bring them onto the show. This is not a paid review or a sponsored video. They came at my request. The timing on this video is also very interesting, and that part was not planned. One of my big concerns with Choke Point 2.0 is that the banks will continue shutting down crypto users. That specific thing has happened to a few people I know over the past 3 years. And yesterday, I went to make an everyday purchase, and my card was rejected. And I was like, what the heck? I had plenty of money in that account. The gal I spoke to at customer service said there was a problem with my account and gave me another number to call. And then that department was closed. So this is completely still an unresolved issue as to WTF is going on. In life, they say, build a bridge before you need it, or dig a well before you're thirsty. I invited Spritz Finance to join us because I liked what my research said about them, but wanted to invite the team on because this is a bridge I wanted to build before I needed it, and it looks like now I need it. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain, and if you like money in crypto and you're looking for a seasoned investor take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family. Do note, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a crypto investor myself. All of you are responsible for doing your own research. We do want to give a shout out to our Patreon members. On Friday, we have a pre-live stream, and we did that earlier today. You also get access to the private Discord where we have a lot more interactions. Now, if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show. And help me welcome our guest, Chris from Spritz Finance. Chris,
hey, Rain.
Thanks for joining us. Good.
Happy Friday.
Yes. So I gave the audience a little bit about what Spritz does. Could you tell us more in depth? What is Spritz Finance? What are you doing?
Sure. Yeah. We're an app for Web3 users to do stuff in the real world with your crypto in a decentralized self-custody sort of way. So if you've earning crypto passively, actively, got some crypto on chain, but you've got some bills to pay, like you mentioned in your intro. You've got a student loan, a car loan, mortgage, all these loans, right? If you've got a credit card or even just an electricity bill, instead of going through all the paces in terms of liquidating your asset on a DEX, moving it maybe to an exchange account if you've got one, paying those fees, making mistakes, hopefully not, just to move it to your bank to sit there earning no interest and waiting a while till it then gets paid. You can skip all that, and in a single blockchain transaction with Spritz, one click, make that payment, $10 or $10,000 to any of those bills directly from your self-custody wallet, your MetaMask, your Exodus, your Trust wallet. We've got, in addition to bill pay, we've got an off-ramp, a bank payment service, and also a card, a prepaid debit card. Again, that's instantly funded directly from your crypto wallet.
That's so interesting. If we think about it, this entire system of banks was developed hundreds of years ago. Yeah. It's kind of like third parties, so people wouldn't have to carry gold around, right? But it's like this third party. And what hit me yesterday, right, is you have the third party that has your funds, and then the third party, some problem happens with them, and it's like, oh, you don't get to use your funds today. Well, why? Well, I don't even know why yet. And hopefully I can get an answer today. But I had a bunch of things to do. So this morning, I haven't even been able to call them, and I don't even know what time that department closes. Yeah. And it's like, hey, can I please use my funds? Please. They're my funds. What the heck is going on here? You know, and you have to have permission from them to have an account. But you just mentioned decentralized, right? Because isn't that the beauty of what crypto's allowed us, is we have sovereignty over our own money and finances. We have self-custody wallets that then we can just pay a bill. I don't have to have assets, because the process I've been using is I off-ramp, like say I sell some crypto to put it into like that whole process. I would lose about 8% until recently. It's gotten cheaper to move it, but the whole process of off-ramping, I'd lose about 8% in transaction fees, and it was a multi-step process in such a pain just to get it into my bank account. So what you're saying is, here now I can just pay the bills directly from crypto.
Yeah, those days are over. And yeah, on the decentralized piece, you know, that's obviously there's a spectrum of decentralization. Spritz is a project and a company. You know, we don't yet have a token. So I'm not claiming that we're a completely decentralized protocol, but we are a service provider that you're not custodying funds with us. You're not really trusting us beyond just the delivery of transaction to transaction. You're not opening up new sorts of accounts or vaults with us. You're not even needing to open up a credit card or use the debit card that we've got, right? So it's keep your crypto, whatever it is, you know, Dogecoin, Ethereum, on whatever network you've got, in whatever wallet you've got. You don't need anything new. Keep it there. That's our belief. And actually keep your bills. You know, you don't need to open another credit card. Keep the whatever airline mile card you've got, mortgage provider you've got, even if they don't accept crypto, right? Through Spritz, and we can get into it in our partners. You can just transact with us just like with any DApp, like a Uniswap, but actually have your bills get paid. And then if you decide to stop working with us tomorrow, then you just shut it off and you don't have to do it again, right? So I think that's what I mean by decentralized and, you know, keeping control of your finances.
So if I use an American Express card because I like the frequent flyer miles, then I can just pay my American Express card. I can use that, pay it off, and pay that off every month using Spritz.
So yeah, totally right. And you can, you know, let's say your monthly expenses are whatever, $1,500. You can use Spritz to, hey, I've got a little bit of rewards or some game token or something that you're earning on chain, and maybe it's $50 a month. So whatever that is, whenever it is, you can make a transaction to just put $50 towards your credit card, and then, you know, still keep it in your bank, and your bank is just going to deduct a little bit less, you know, from you each month to pay that card. You could, you know, in the app, you get the full information on your card. So you can say, hey, my balance is $1,500, pay it off right now. So you could do that with Spritz. Or for people who are carrying some debt, credit card, you know, student loan, whatever, we see people actually making additional payments because maybe they've had a windfall, maybe they're doing some, you know, tax harvesting or something like that on chain, and then they're using us to basically pay down their real world debt using their on-chain assets, which is a great use case for people.
Yeah, it makes it so you can have your own bank account. Like, one of the reasons we put money in a bank account is a buffer, right? That's where we pay all our bills out of. And so it's really been like two worlds you have to live into crypto in this space, right? And what I'm seeing is you're making it one world where, why do you have to have all that money in your bank account directly? You know, well, because the off ramp takes like 3 or 4 days just to put it in your bank account that then needs to be sitting there in order to then pay your bills. But now you can start scheduling your bills and paying your bills directly from crypto funds. And it's just bridging that gap there. Now, like you said, you're still operating, like you're helping bridge that for people, but obviously you have to have bank accounts and stuff. You have to interact with that space. One of the questions I have is that with banks getting a little nervous around crypto transactions, especially lately, do you have some backup bridges built in case all of a sudden Sprit's primary banking partners suddenly have problems, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's, for better for worse, not for better, but for worse, that's a kind of a cost of doing business in crypto today. As a founder and as a startup. But the nice part is that as we solve those problems for ourselves, you as a user, don't need to worry about it and don't need to go through all those hoops of whatever switching banks or something like that, which is a huge pain. So we've got multiple exchange accounts. We've got partnership with Circle, right, with USDC. We've got multiple bank accounts. So it's really, we've got a lot of redundancy there, which is really, really important. We also do a lot of on-chain transacting and bridging and so forth. So I think we built a very resilient system ultimately, so that we can have very few disruptions. Even when Silicon Valley Bank went down and Circle had some issues, we had some other routes to keep the lights on for customers.
Yes, get into some of the comments because this is live. Thank you everyone for joining us. Sailing on 2021. He's also in our Patreon group, and he has so much knowledge. He's like an old soul who also has a lot of years of wisdom. So on top of that, he's wise from all his years of business experience, and he says very, very exciting. So I'm glad you're getting the same feel that I had from this. This is really bridging the two worlds that I've had to live in for a while and bringing them together. And that was a great answer to that question, because that was one of my concerns, is that, right now some of the banks are getting really weird on crypto stuff. It's like some of these bank failures are being blamed on crypto, and that's not the reason. But that's what's getting the blame, because those blaming it have a very different agenda, and they all want us to be on central bank digital currencies, which I'm about as interested in as I'm as interested in pouring salt on a fresh cut. So
pretty much. But yeah, I mean, we being a business, having the proper controls, doing the volumes that we're doing allows us to have these kind of institutional relationships and accounts that, retail folks aren't, don't have any access to. Ultimately, for example, through one of our partners, they're using JP Morgan, right, as a partner. So when you're receiving an off-ramp from Spritz, you're getting it ultimately from JP Morgan Bank, right? So your bank isn't going to be like, where's this coming from? Oh, it's coming from Coinbase.
JP Morgan is what they see.
Yeah, they see that. And, the partner who's working with JP Morgan has certain requirements on us and that is why we can get into it. We do need some light KYC and so forth to make sure that we can make use of these partners. But once we can, we can make those rails and that functionality available to everyday users for at least what I think is a very reasonable
and you
fee.
guys have very light KYC. For those interested, there is a link down below. If you use that link, when you pay your first $50 bill, you'll actually get $50 credit. So use that link so you can get the free $50. Why wouldn't you? So it is in there, so you don't need to worry about spelling it correctly or everything. Let me know. You should see it on the video in the description below. So George 17 asks, any regulation for this company?
Yeah, sure. I mean, some, but far less than, we're not an exchange. We're not doing on-ramp, at least for now, right? So we're kind of sort of a one-stop shop for moving crypto into the real world, not the other way around. So we're not, selling crypto to people. So that means we don't need to get a lot of the licenses and requirements that the exchanges do. That means we don't need to get, your passport and wait 7 days and get a video selfie from you and, and know your parents' birthdays or whatever it is, right? But we do have, especially around money laundering and KYC, we do have some responsibilities there, and so we do, make sure that Vladimir Putin and others aren't using our platform. But otherwise, it's fairly straightforward for most regular folks.
Okay. Yeah, let me just see. Great questions. Web Zombie says CBDCs don't want to control or track you and make you only shop at government stores. Yes, they want to have that control. Absolutely, they do. Yeah, George 17 asked me to spell it out. I did type back to George and said there is the link in the description.
Yep.
So
You can remember it's Spritz, like the if there's any people who like a cocktail, or maybe you've gone to a bar in recent years and they've got Aperol Spritz. It seems to be everywhere. That's the inspiration for Spritz. You know, sitting on the beach, having a nice cocktail or cooler or beer, and your money is taken care of for you. Your bills are taken care of for you. And to me, that's kind of the promise of blockchain originally, is programmable money that can move on a Friday night, transparently, securely, instantaneously. That's the world that I wanted to live in. That's why we're building Spritz. So yeah, we just kind of want you to relax and have your finances are taken care of by us.
Yeah, I like it. And I like where this is going. And there's quite a few videos when I was doing some research. You guys been on a ton of different channels.
Yeah.
And part of the backing, right? I'm really super cautious on what I'll cover. So like I get hit up with everything. And for sponsorships and stuff, I say no to almost everybody except for like the top level projects. Like I have a strategic relationship with One Chain. I'm in discussion with another one that I trust completely, but I say no. And having guests on, I say no all the time. But when I was researching your project, I was like, wow, what they're doing is so interesting and so easy to use. I was like, this is the well I've been thinking about digging for a while, because you always dig your well before you need it, before you're thirsty. And so I was like, this is so cool.
Smart.
So yeah, it just happened to really hit me yesterday as I'm having a problem with my main account that I've used that for like 12 years. And I'm like, what the frick? And I don't know what the frick. But
yeah, and it could be, hopefully it'll be hours or days at most for you.
I know, right?
You don't know. You're at the whims of now the customer service rabbit hole, for lack of a better term.
Exactly. Now, how did your team get involved in this? What is your background, Chris?
Yeah, I'm MIT trained computer scientist, finance guy. So I've traded stocks for a lot of my life by writing computer code. So when you look at blockchains and you think about writing code to move money, literally the money is the code and vice versa when you're looking at least Ethereum and certainly Bitcoin, right? So that's why I'm personally attracted to it. Started a couple companies, been through Y Combinator and others. And I'm very motivated to build financial products for everyday people, kind of show people that finance isn't just for the rich people or the big institutions. A lot of people think that, and I think they're right to some extent, but finance can also be a tool for independence, right? And empowerment and all that, whether it's, $10 or $10,000. So what more humble day-to-day activity do we do as people in the world than pay bills, unfortunately. And, if I can find a way to automate it, make it safer, easier, and then ultimately tie it to all the great aspects of crypto around being, censorship free and, like I said, fast and 24/7, that's a wonderful service. So, yeah, that's what, we're under 10 people all around the world, most in the US though. I'm on the East Coast, and all passionate about building a great product that's doing bill pay, which is, boring and humble, but also kind of creating it in a
what
fun,
everyone needs,
fun
right?
way. Yeah.
It's like the simple stuff that becomes revolutionary, right? And if you think about, I remember when PayPal was new, right? You could just send money to your pal, and it's like, and that's actually how Elon Musk kicked off his series of successes, was with PayPal. And it's funny, automating, making it easy to send money to pay your bills and send money to friends. What a huge concept. And what you're doing is doing that with Web3, right? Because PayPal isn't touching crypto. Like they're just stuck in Web 2. Is like Web 2 is the greatest. Oh, that Web3 thing, that's scary. So
there's going to be a new series of companies, projects, tools that come out. Some companies, say like a Stripe, may or may not embrace the crypto world, and I believe that those that don't will certainly get left behind. But either way, as consumers, we're going to get some really cool products coming out.
So this audience is really sharp, and Vidiman asks a really good question. Have you read the U.S. Department of Treasury's illicit finance risk assessment of decentralized finance? Your thoughts on this would be really interesting.
I've not read it. I've seen summaries and commentary on Yellen's report, especially around the erroneous, claims around what was it, like the Bitcoin team hasn't decided to release. I forget what like some feature. Obviously Bitcoin is not a team. So yeah, I think. Boy, I mean, everyone talks about education in crypto for everyday users. That's maybe first and foremost, but when you're talking about senators and so forth who, maybe some of them don't even use computers at all, maybe nothing against that, but they don't really have a clue about how these systems work. And that's a dangerous and unfortunate thing. So no, I didn't wait through the report. Maybe I will, but maybe you guys can share some of the highs and probably most of the lows in there.
I think Janet Yellen's earned a lot of trust and respect because she's been so right on everything over the past 3 years. Oh, wait, that must have been someone else because that was not Janet Yellen. Yeah. So
I don't know who's been right. Yeah, it's been a tough, certainly been a tough market.
She's been wrong on inflation, wrong on just about everything, because I think she's actually giving the answers that politically they want her to give rather than the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that report is absolutely political. The government wants us to use the central bank digital currency because it makes everything easier for the government, not because it would improve our lives as citizens. I wanted to get to this question. I clicked on the wrong one. S3YU asks, how about using outside of the U.S.? Because right now you're only in the U.S. What are your plans for outside the U.S.?
Yeah, man, I don't want to overpromise. But I'm very eager to diversify and meet all the people abroad. Not just, if we talk about Germany, right? It's not just Germans in Germany, but it's whatever other Europeans in Germany. It's Americans in Germany. It's people living this kind of multi-country, multinational lifestyle that fits very much with crypto. So we certainly want to be there at Spritz. We sort of think of ourselves almost as the Revolut for Web3. Revolut, great kind of Web2 app for international folks if you're living in a couple countries. But in terms of specific roadmap, I'd say definitely not in the second quarter here. Maybe as we get toward the third or fourth quarter of this year, thinking about what country or countries are next. A lot of that for us, to pay a bill in the U.S. versus a bill in Germany is a very different motion, both from, do people mostly use credit cards, or do they have mortgages, or do they use, a different system in India, and then the actual rails. So it is, as much as I want to advance as fast as possible, there's a challenge for us. And the U.S. is, a huge market with lots of opportunity, obviously.
Yeah, one of the biggest financial markets, right? So awesome. Chris, I know you're on a time crunch and we only had you scheduled for a little bit. So thank you for joining us. Let's see. Are there any other questions from the audience? George 17 asked, when Spritz token? Would it make
maybe not tomorrow and hopefully not 10 years from now.
If you had a token, what would the use case even be though?
Well, I think there's plenty. I mean, just kind of thinking about the ecosystem of Spritz and even international expansion, right? Or is it going to be the Spritz team that goes to South Africa to integrate the water company bill there, right? Maybe not. But is it going to be a South African who's sitting there and has some, coding ability? Maybe they're using AI or ChatGPT to do it. What if they can build a piece that plugs into Spritz and actually earn some Spritz tokens as compensation for the kind of fees running through their system? That would be kind of one case that's kind of a utility based case. But yeah, I have no idea, right? We got to make sure it's legal, got to make sure it's attractive, got to make sure it makes sense, but we certainly have ideas. So
you're thinking of plausible use cases for it that would make sense and create a win for people. What's interesting is you're solving a very relevant problem, and it's amazing how big ideas like this can go. I've been around since 2017. At the time, I thought I was like, am I late? Oh my gosh, there's all these people before me, right? 2017. And we were running into this problem that a lot of people were coming in the crypto space and nobody could get centralized exchange access because they had a backlog. And there was one company, it was a newer startup that's like, hey, well, we built with a lot of servers, so we can onboard you. So sign up for us. We're Binance. And it's like, Binance? Who's heard of Binance? Okay, well, shoot, I can get right on board. And so they solved two problems. Was you could just onboard, but because like the other ones like Bittrex or I forget Bitfinex and stuff, you had like a 3 or 4 month waiting list. Like people were literally buying logins from someone else. So they didn't have to wait 3 months on a waiting list. So Binance just solved that problem. And the other problem they solved was they onboarded a lot of crypto projects that people wanted to trade, even ones that weren't on other exchanges. They solved those two problems and became one of the largest exchanges in the world because they solved two very simple problems. And so right now everyone thinks of Binance, oh, they're this behemoth. But I remember the early days and they were like, no, they were small and like they were the like kind of backup person, the third string quarterback you put in because the other two were on 3-month delays and became a behemoth. So solving simple problems can be huge over time. Chris, I think you're really onto something. I'm excited to use your service because I hate paying bills. So the simpler it becomes, the easier and the less steps, and I can just pay it with crypto. I'm all on board.
Yeah, you got it, Rain. And thanks everybody watching for all the cool questions. And we're one of the few Web3 apps or dApps out there with an intercom customer support. We're a real team of real people. So when you're trusting your mortgage payment, many people are, right, or tens of thousands of dollars of off ramping to their personal accounts, then we're accountable to you. So really urge you guys to check us out. There's some promotions, and Rain's got the link, and give us a try. Like I said, $10, $10,000. We're happy to help you out.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Rain. Have a good weekend.
All right. So I wanted to leave some time today to get into whatever projects are on your mind. The market's a little bit crazy, and some things are showing good signs ready for a takeoff, and some things have already kind of 5x'd, and it's hard to see if they're going to keep going or not. As well as we have our on-chain giveaway today. And so let's get to the on-chain giveaway right quick, because while you're thinking of what tokens you want to ask about, I wanted to get to this because there's real big news with on-chain. Now, on-chain has been one of the projects I've been following for a long time as an investor. And what's interesting is I feel like the price isn't properly reflected based on where it's at, right? So here it's come way down, and it did bottom out at 13 cents, but it's been playing around, and right now it's at 26 cents. So it's 2x from the highs. But if you look at on-chain, market cap is $52 million, $53 million, and the fully diluted market cap is 56. So most of the tokens are in circulation. You're not going to get dumped on by pre-sale investors or other things. And it's just at 53 million. Well, have you seen the latest with what's happening with on-chain? I hope so. I hope you followed them on Twitter already, because if you haven't, what are you doing? Follow them so that you can get the information, because a lot of my questions for the giveaways come from their Twitter. Here's the question. I have to go off the first person I see the response from as the winner, the correct response. And so get your fingers ready. Hopefully you already know this information. But if you are the winner, I need your Telegram handle, because if you try to put in your on-chain address or your MetaMask address for me to send you the on-chain, well, it won't, YouTube filters those out. So I'll need your Telegram handle if you win. Here's the question. What major chain is on-chain's cross-chain bridge now live on that chain's testnet? We need a little bit of Jeopardy music. I do have some buttons here, but I can't see what they do. And I don't have the headphones on, so you can hear them and I can't. Ryan S. we have multiple people that got this right away. So Pete D is the first one I'm seeing. Web Zombies right after that. Chris, Ryan S., Michael Rowe, Yeah, so Pete D is our winner. That's the first one showing up for me. The response, though, it might show up on yours first because there's no lag delay on going to your own device. So yeah, it's freaking gigantic news right here. Pin tweet. OneChain's cross-chain bridges are live on Cardano pre-production. We're all connected. So move ADA to any EVM chain. Move Cardano tokens to any EVM chain. Well, that's the same thing, right? Oh, well, this probably means any tokens on the Cardano network, you could probably move over to any EVM chain. Move coins from ERC20 tokens from any EVM chain to Cardano. Oh gosh, I wasn't sharing my screen during that. Well, shoot, here we go. This is what I was reading as their pin tweet. Move ADA to any EVM chain, move hashtag Cardano tokens to any EVM chain, and move coins or ERC20 tokens from any EVM chain to Cardano. That's a really big deal. Awesome. Here is Tim being interviewed by Chainlink. Cool. Tim is their chief marketing officer. He technically has a different title, but that's basically how I think about it. Really cool guy. Anyway, that's what's going on with OneChain. That is huge news. I feel like that fully diluted market cap is because what often happens in this space is that projects, like a lot of crypto is narrative driven, and so fundamental things sometimes happen and something still doesn't get in the narrative right away. Think about one of my big gainers that I made a ton on. Well, two of them in particular. One of them was Axie Infinity, because I suspected strongly that this idea of blockchain gaming was going to do quite well. Well, actually, Axie Infinity, I bought some Axie Infinity land January 2019, and it actually did terrible for about 18 months. Then for about 6 months, it actually did okay and went up to a little bit above what I bought it for. And then it finally took off or got in the narrative. So they had been building a lot of things for a long time. And even once their game was working, nobody was paying attention. And so they didn't get credit until all of a sudden it just finally went massive. Paul talks about it in our Wednesday videos, like pulling a brick with a rubber band. And I feel like that's what's happening with OneChain, is that they're doing a lot of earth-shattering things, and the narrative hasn't caught up with it yet. All right, let's take a look at what's on your minds. What projects are on your minds? One of the ones that's on my mind while you're thinking is Illuvium. Their price is down once again below this $60. In my opinion, the green zone where I really like Illuvium is $60 and below, and it's back down there. Now, it did take this big run up and was as cheap as $38, but those days may be gone. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll come back. I hope they do. But it is back in the green zone that I had talked about before. So it went all the way up to $110, and so it's come down almost half. So you can get a lot more Illuvium token for the buck. I still think blockchain gaming is going to change the world. Now, I floated on the private pre-live stream that we do in Patreon or through our Discord, the idea that I'm considering starting a channel where I'm stream blockchain games. What do you guys think? Is that something you would want to watch? It might not be the same type of audience of covering crypto projects. I know a lot of you don't even do games at all. I do like games. I'm particular on what I like. I don't like all games. I'm quite particular on what I like, but I was thinking of doing a blockchain gaming streaming channel where I just play some and share my thoughts on it. Wemzombie has asked, have I played Zoo Racers yet? Yes, I played it with a keyboard. I hadn't plugged in my controller to play it on the controller. I absolutely got my butt kicked on it. But great question. Oh, man, I got schooled by some people that have already been playing it. It was fun. I recommend playing it with a controller rather than your keys. S3YU says I would totally watch it. There's not a lot of games out there to stream yet. I mean, you can stream like Gods Unchained. I don't know how to play the card games. I totally get destroyed. I'm more into first-person shooters, or like Illuvium Overworld is something that I would play, especially once it launches. Illuvium Zero, though I'd have to show off my secrets to the world. I don't mind showing that off to just, people, especially in our Discord and maybe in the Telegram. I just don't want to share it with the whole world, because I have found some efficiencies in Illuvium Zero that I don't want everyone in the world to know. But I wouldn't mind you guys knowing if there's a way I can segment the two. Because efficiency is what I look for, right? Inherently, like, I don't know about you, but I don't like to work. It's not that I hate working. I like the results that work gets me, but I think of myself as like a sprinter, not a marathon runner. So, hey, if I can work really, really hard, like when I graduated from the university, and while I was going to the university, I came from a poor family, so I was working 3 jobs while going full-time student, and, I didn't have any like money from my parents and stuff, and I had to pay for all these things. So how does a guy who hates working have 3-time jobs? Well, I like the benefits from working. And it's not like I dislike my jobs. I've actually, almost every job I've had, I've liked it and liked the people I work with. It's just, I don't know about you, I like the idea of doing what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, whenever I want. And to do that, well, you have to use your time and money wisely so that you have a lot of money, because with a lot of money comes a lot of options. And one of those things that I do like doing is games. So I thought, well, maybe some streaming of blockchain games would be cool, because I think blockchain games, if you think about how large that the gaming industry is, and that it's going to be going over to blockchain gaming, there's going to be some massive money to be made in that transition. Now, it's hard to tell where exactly what games will be the most popular, what games will go absolutely huge. Like Axie Infinity is a fairly simple game. It had one of the advantages of being one of the first ones, and so it went absolutely gigantic. Made the team a fortune, made the early investor like myself, made us a lot of money. And I think there will be more opportunities like that. There will also be opportunities for those that play the game, right? So that some items will become super valuable in the future, and super huge collector's items. There'll be huge flexes by people who have a lot of money, like sheikhs out of Saudi Arabia. Be like, oh, you have that? I want that. I want to be able to hang it on my profile wall. How much? Oh, 200,000 for that? I'm sure, and that there will be a lot of sales like that. It's hard to tell what those items will be at this point. It's just guesses, but there's going to be such a transition to that. All right. Oh, I didn't know that. Dr. Disrespect is bringing us some nice Web3 exposure. I will have to check that out. Do you know what specifically he's covering? That guy is a smart businessman. As I've been studying streaming to see what all it entails, obviously, I was studying Dr. Disrespect because he approached it like a business, right? He streams 3 times a week, about 6 to 8 hours. Gone through the efforts to make a persona that's fun, right? And so there's some marketing reasons and strategic reasons behind that. That's pretty cool. Interestingly, that he's getting it with the Web3 exposure. Bob the Builder with the super chat, $5 super chat. Thank you, Bob. Great question on thoughts on Freeway's future. This is Freeway token, which had a absolute disaster happen months ago. I don't know. I don't know if they make it. I don't know. I still hold a bunch of Freeway tokens, right? And I don't know if they make it. I hope they make it. But Freeway token, essentially, in some ways, similar to Celsius and BlockFi and Voyager, like you could send your funds onto their platform, and they were investing those funds on your behalf in a very different way than Celsius and Voyager. and they used an algorithm that they had to trade for you, and they were giving returns up to like 40% if you had certain things right. Well, the story is that, and it's possibly true, maybe even probably true, that there was this big problem that happened with the direction that Japanese currency went versus how it should have went. And supposedly their algorithm lost massively on that repeatedly as that happened. And that's the problem with actually trying to use AI to trade for you, or even algorithms to trade for you, is sometimes like there's an error or a flaw in your system, and then all of a sudden it gets repeated, and they lost a bunch of the user funds with that. So then they paused withdrawals of being able to withdraw from the platform, which is usually a death knell whenever a project does that. And they've continued putting out stuff. In fact, they've given access of their algorithm to users who had over 50,000 that were willing to use it directly. And that was actually a really good sign from them that they were doing that. I haven't followed super closely since then, other than some audience members, and just on Twitter, I've seen some people posting about their returns, and they've had some lost days and they've had some gain days, but overall they've been winning. So it does confirm the number one question on everyone's mind is, do they really have an algorithm? Will it recover? Will they open up withdrawals at some point? I hope so. Otherwise, I'm out a lot of funds to the tune of, about, like, not millions. I had about 70K on their platform. So, but 70K, even in your second cycle, right? That's like a stab in the heart. 70K it hurts. It's called Dead Drop. Web Zombies talking about what game Dr. Disrespect is playing. Had some pro Call of Duty players trying it. Chris Ashby said, actually, there were two parts to Freeway's issues. You got the first part. The second part was due to holding crypto as margin collateral, and it dipped at the same time. Both of these things did it in. Thanks for the additional insight into it. I never got that call with Graham. I followed up on it a number of times. They said, oh, he's waiting down the road. I don't know. The funds, I still even have a little bit of tokens outside of the platform that I could sell at any time. I haven't, because it's been so abysmally low. I just hate selling at lows. I did go ahead and sell some when the earthquake happened in case it did go to zero, because sometimes that happens. All right. But I kept a bunch. I just hate selling on massive FUD runs like that. So I didn't sell all of the stuff I had liquid. All right, some good news. Cornucopia is racing, and intro to the Corn Metaverse coming next month. That's exciting news. I've heard of that coming in. That'll be interesting. I'm just looking at some streaming options and if that would be fun, and just kind of what setup change I'd need to make that happen. But it's heavy on my mind. There's not a lot of people streaming Web3 content out there. And so it might be just a fun avenue to see what's out there. Although one of our own community members has a channel, Token Trove, and he's been playing a lot of games. He's had some real life things where he's not playing them as much, but he covered a bunch of the early blockchain games that he could get into alpha tests or beta tests or that are out, and covered them. All right. Sailing says, I'm really looking forward to the Copia racing game. To George. All right. That George mentioned. Okay, cool. Well, any other tokens on your mind you want me to look at, or everyone? Yeah, what's your thoughts? Could be thoughts on anything crypto related. I've got another 10 or 15 minutes before I get to make some calls to the bank and stuff. Hey, Jay, can you talk about FODA? Let's do. Okay. This is one that I would like to stream if the game is good, and I hope it's good because I've loaded up on their token. All right. So Fight of the Ages, or FODA, right? So one of the big 5x5 mobile online battle arena games out there is called Dota 2, which actually came about because of Warcraft. And they allowed people to make different battle arenas and other things. And so one of them came about that way. One of the biggest games in the world these days, Dota 2. It was called Defense of the Ancients, where you're supposed to protect your ancient. And it was 5x5. And I didn't play it back when it was Dota 1. And I guess they had to make some changes on the character names because Warcraft was mad because the names were from their thing. So they had to rename some of their heroes. But I think they have the largest international prize pool out there. And maybe League of Legends is higher now. League of Legends is a little bit newer and gained a lot of traction. So League of Legends may have surpassed them, but I've never played League of Legends. Well, it's a mobile online battle arena game, both League of Legends and Dota 2. And Fight of the Ages is supposed to be in line with that, a MOBA, where it's a player versus player or teams of players against players within a smaller battle arena. Well, their market cap is extremely attractive at this price. It's out of sight, out of mind. Now, they got a lot of publicity when they launched. Everybody was talking about them. And now everybody's forgotten about them, which is usually when I like to dollar cost average in and buy a lot for cheap. So right now their market price is absolutely abysmal. Now, I haven't interacted with the team before they launched because I read their white paper even before they launched. I was trying to get a hold of them to see if they would come join us. And essentially at the time they had so many requests, they said, your channel isn't big enough. So they never did come on and join us. Probably I could get a different answer to that now that nobody's thinking about them. But this is the time frame that I do like to be thinking about projects. And because it's super cheap, as you can see from the chart. And the market cap is super low. It's a risk. They might not make it. I think the genre that they're participating in, one of the things I like about MOBAs is it's not near as expensive to build a game that's a MOBA as it is like a Star Atlas or an Illuvium or a first-person shooter type game. So, they're in a genre that can be built. So they launched way back here in 2022. We're about a year from the launch and still maybe the bottom's in for the market. Let me put on log scale. They didn't go quite as cheap as they were. So they were even cheaper. They were down at basically 1.1 cents. They're at 1.7 cents now. Yeah, good time to be thinking about FODA. Great suggestion. S3YU says League of Legends has more players, but Dota 2 had the biggest prize pools in the past and is the harder game. Yeah, I do like Dota 2 a lot, and I play it, and there are some incredible players in there. I get my butt kicked. I did give up gaming for about, there was probably a good 17 years of my life that I didn't really touch video gaming. I was too busy working really hard so that I'd have to work less hard in the future. And so, I feel like I've done a lot of the work to grow myself that I like playing games. But I did swear it off for about 17 years so I could really work on my own skills and grow my own skills so that later on I could have more choices in my life. All right. What are my thoughts on AADA Finance's recent pump? Let's take a look at it. They've been in the news lately, right? A lot of thoughts on it. So as Cardano has also been on the news, AADA has done a good job, like their team. I'm impressed. I did connect them up with one of the major IO players for Cardano, right? and he gave them some consulting and advice. I don't know if ultimately he ended up working for them as an advisor, but they were smart, but they decided they were going to do some things their own way, that they had a really good plan. And I think their ideas have turned out pretty dang good so far. I would put ADA as one of the leading DeFi projects on Cardano, and there aren't a lot. And so ADA has done really well. It's all the way back at 80 cents. Its previous highs were at, I thought there were some highs higher than this, but maybe not. $1.60. So it's all the way back at half of where their total high was. All right, let me look at one other one I've had a lot of people ask me about lately, and that's Meld. And then Keith, I'm going to jump to your super chat. Thank you for that. Meld, this is a project I really like the team on, and I did invest in Meld in their pre-sale, and their vesting on the pre-sale was actually quite terrible, but I really liked the team behind the project. And so I was like, okay, essentially, I think the pre-sale was you get unlocked like 4% of your tokens. It might have even been less than that. I think the vesting happens over like a 4-year period, a little bit each month over like an extremely long period of time. And maybe it was over 2 years or something. I can't remember how long it was, but it was a terrible lockup. I just liked the team enough that I was like, I'm okay with that. So when it came out, it went 18 cents. It's dropped all the way down to 1.6 cents with a market cap of 25 million. Now, Cardano continues to show strength in what they're doing fundamentally, which is what I look at, right? The reason I invested in Cardano in the last bear market is because even though the FUD was at epic levels when Cardano hit 3 cents and all these people were selling and saying it was stupid to believe in Cardano, and they called it Cardaleno, is that even though the progress was happening much slower and very much delayed from what they said it would be, it kept developing and taking the right steps, even though those steps were way slower than everyone wanted to be. And it seemed like it would add up to something huge. I still think that about Cardano, which bodes well for Cardano ecosystem projects like ADA and Meld and Cornucopias. That if Cardano continues building smart so that they end up with this major platform that can do millions of transactions per second, they could even crush Ethereum at some point. They could. I don't know if they will. Depends. But ETH cannot handle anywhere near that type of transaction. Even at proof of stake, they can't shard, at least not in the near future. And so Cardano may be way ahead of them. And if their fees continue to be so high on ETH, people will be looking for a major chain that has better fees. And Solana is not getting there either. Cardano, I think this is the horse that wins that race out of, like, say, Polkadot and Solana. Whether it be ETH has such a major head start, and Cardano was actually, Charles Hoskinson was one of the 5 original co-founders of Ethereum. So it's kind of like his second horse beating his first horse, if that happens. Keith, let's get to your question. Do I like Nakamoto Games? I am unfamiliar with Naka, so let's check it out. Fun name, probably named after Satoshi Nakamoto. I like that chart. And, you know, a lot of people don't like charts that are like that. I like buying cheap. And wow, it got really cheap here at 5 cents. So this one's already 5x. Now, it was all the way at $5. Even at 5x from where it was. So its market cap went all the way down to 4 million. And it's sitting right now. Forgot to share my screen. Let me share it so you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right, so this is what I was looking at. The price was all the way down at 5 cents. It's now at 28 cents, so it's 5x'd. but its market cap is still only 20 million despite the 5x, with a fully diluted market cap of 50 million. Now, there are a lot of projects with smaller market caps, so let's look at how serious a player they seem to be based on their website, because sometimes you're just making guesses. So they're working on multiple games. It looks like the easier, quicker games to program. There are audiences for these quicker games to program, especially ones that work on phones. I don't necessarily like them as much, but there are a ton of people who do. Okay. I'm having a hard time getting a feel of whether I'd invest in this or something that I know more about that has a cheaper market cap. Probably the ones I know more about that have a cheaper market cap, though this one might be just fine. Has already gone 5x. Let's look at this pattern that it's trading in. Let's see if we can pull it up on something like this. Naka. Okay, good. It's on Kucoin, because I want to be able to look at this pattern. Clearly broke. So it was trading in this pattern and it broke to the upside, but it still has just been trading sideways from there and up. And what I'm trying to see is if it going to continue more of a run. Here's the downside, is if part of the reason it pumped, this may have created a double top here, and it may be in for a retracement. And that would be even more likely the case if it was some major announcement that kicked off this bigger run. We do see the volume really spiked up here, which is what led to this eventual takeoff. So even though the volume picked up here, there were a bunch of people selling into it. Eventually those sellers ran out and bam, it went up like this. We're seeing a fall off in trading volume and possibly a double top, or what I would call an M. And that's concerning for the short term. Long term, I think a lot of money comes into the space in crypto games. Now, whether that's later this year, next year, or the year after, I don't know. But at some point, I think some of these gaming projects go absolutely crazy. Well, thanks, Keith. I appreciate it. He says, also, I really enjoy your content. One of the best in the biz for sure. Thank you. I try to offer an investor perspective or an economics-based perspective on this stuff, that just using some of my business consulting background and other things of how to look at the teams and the business behind it, because that's what determines how things do. And, you know, I'm somewhat sad. I think I talked about this the other day. One of the people that I know in this space has been around since 2016 or 17. And they haven't made serious money in crypto, even though they've invested a ton in crypto. And I was just like, what? How is that the case? Because it's been such a different experience from mine. And the truth is if you're not keeping your emotions in check and you're investing, you're FOMOing in and panic selling out, yeah, that's absolutely going to be the case. That just because you're here for 5 years doesn't mean you'll do well if you aren't taking smart placements at smart strategic points, right? And so, like, some of the times I look back and I'm like, wow, I left so much money on the table. I could have done so much better if I had done this and that. And everyone will have those types of thoughts. But how do you do over 5 years? Hopefully really good. But the biggest part of doing really good is literally buying when things are low, but you're buying specifically projects that you've researched that there's a reasonable bet that when money comes back in the market, that project will do exceptionally well. And then holding through the FUD that sometimes comes, like Ecomi or the OMI token is going through that massive FUD right now. It gets me kind of excited, right? Let me share my screen because that is a great one to illustrate this. And it's touched right back down to its previous lows. And it's like, oh my gosh, it could go further down. And it could. Oh my hell. Geez. Could go further down. I don't think it will, but it absolutely could. But is the team still releasing really good NFTs that people want to collect, or collectibles that people want to collect? Yes. Is the team still making money? Yes. Has the team hired a better dev team that are solving a lot of the things that have led to the FUD? Yes. So it's solving those problems. A lot of people are exhausted, and this was the same thing that happened with Cardano when Cardano hit those lows, and I was buying more, and a bunch of people were selling into it, and I was buying into it. Reminds me of that situation a lot. Now we know how Cardano turned out from back when it was at 1.7 cents and at 3 cents. There were no guarantees that it would turn around. That was just a strategic bet that I was taking that worked out, and it went over 100x from there. So will OMI turn around? I think so. I don't have a magic crystal ball to know for sure. That's just a strategic bet that I'm making. All right. Your friend needs to stick to the Rainmaker rap principles. He does. I don't know that he's even listened to that rap. I know he's seen a few of my episodes, but you know, I don't know. I hope it goes better for him. He's a super bright guy. Yeah, it's just I was shocked that he wasn't actually already rich. I didn't know he wasn't. Do you like Chirply? CHRP, low market cap, and great website. Okay. I do not know this one. CHRP, Chirply. Let's see where it is. Ranked 2027. Ooh, market cap is nice and juicy low. What does the price look like? Okay. So it looks like the history, it goes back to 2022. So not all that big of a history. Let's look at circulating supply versus max supply. 28% of their tokens are in circulation. So it's got a billion. Boy, no, that's not good. A billion max supply and 28 million are in circulation, which means 2.8% of their tokens are in circulation, or almost 3%. I don't like that about it at all. Huh. In touch with your audience using micro and nano. This is probably not one that I'm going to invest in. Chirply is the world's first automated peer-to-peer all-in-one influencer marketplace specifically focused on nano and micro influencers. Cool. Good place to be working on. Why does it need a token? And what does the token do for it? Because is there a place for this? Yes. Does it need its own token? Not necessarily. Awesome website. But teams and partners don't show their faces. Phantom Starter had it. Engine Starter launched it. Okay, Engine Starter does some verification, right? So even though they're not showing their faces here, Engine Starter would have had face-to-face video calls with them and screen them. But they're just because they launch on Engine Starter, it's not a guarantee that it's going to be successful. So it looks like they're tradable on Bybit, MEXC, Zero Swap, D-Pad, Maddox, Launchpad had them. Yeah, probably not. I hope it works out. Great design website, but boy, those tokenomics, 3% of the token in circulation. They just pumped recently and took off. So they were all the way down to 0.15 cents, and they've gone 4x from there. So congratulations to them. I would have to understand. Well, here's one good thing about it. The fully diluted market cap is still only 6 million, which is great. The current market cap at 170 million. I need to know what makes this special, like to take this kind of risk, because realize that there's pre-sale tokens or other things out there that will continue to likely get dumped. And I don't know what the vesting schedule looks like. In fact, sometimes we can find it if we just do this. Terply ICO price. And we'll see more. So it launched on Engine Starter, Phantom Starter, Moon Starter at 2.1 cents. So it's vastly below that from the IDO price. Sometimes these will tell us what the pre-sale prices were as well. So private sale price, seed price was 1.2 cents. So it's down below seed. I like that. And they raised all this money. So keep in mind where the current market cap is. And even though the price is down, they're going to have more tokens still vesting. So they had private round sales, 5.7% of their token. Keep in mind only 3% of their tokens are in circulation right now. What does that tell you? Tells you that not even the seed or private or other seed 8.3%. So they're still going to be vesting seed and private sale tokens for quite a while. I have zero interest in buying this till more of those are vested, if not all of them, just because it increases the risk. Now, if I knew that this was such a great idea that could take off, I just know that that puts downward price pressure because, look, the seed and pre-sale investors might have made money on it when it first came out and it was going for $0.026 and you bought it the seed round and you sold some, then you made some of your money back because that's actually only a 2x. So, and that's just what the chart here shows us. It might have done better on something else. Like there might be price action we're not seeing here. So is it 2.6 cents? So they would have sold some of their early stuff and made some of their money back. And what often happens is they just keep selling even though all this is at a loss. And so it just continues to put downward price pressure. Clearly, they're still token investing, and that would be a concern for me. All right. Well, great questions, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Pete will get you connected up with that one. Just reach out to me on Telegram. You know how. Or even on Discord because you're in our Patreon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, okay, this is just what bear markets look like. And so many people go away because, yeah, they can be boring. And some of this has been boring. It's a little less boring now than it was back in December. But if you look back, when were the lows on a whole bunch of tokens? December, right? So what are you learning from that? Well, when everybody leaves and not paying attention, that's when the best prices happen. So, yeah, thanks, everyone, for joining us. The rains will come again. Those projects that you've invested in, well, those projects, some of them will have planted their seeds well and nurtured them and grown their business, whatever their narrative is, and worked on that. And then when money comes back into the space, those will completely flourish. And those of you who have found them, invested in them, been patient with those projects, your portfolios will probably do really well during that time. Thank you, everyone. This wrap is for all of you to reinforce the principles that I share that make all the difference in higher returns over time.
Came into the space, chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, right before you could, was told to buy when it was pouring like a rain, make it should. Buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss, cause I always make the time in mind. I stick the one out cause I'm patient like that, and I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking at this wrong, cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. They say it's come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, say the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. This game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.